Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be diving deep into something today that's gotten to be pretty weird
Yeah.
lately, and that is subscriptions,
Oh, yeah.
but not the kind that you
Oh.
might be thinking of.
Okay, right.
We all have our streaming services and things like that.
Right.
But this is the kind of subscriptions
Yeah.
where you buy something, you think you own it, but
Yeah.
you actually don't really.
You don't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be talking about heated car seats and, printers that won't let you use ink unless you keep paying.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride through the world of subscriptions.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to hear about this.
Let's be honest, we're all kind of drowning in subscriptions these days, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
okay, everything.
everything, right?
Yeah.
You've got your streaming services, your meal kits, your
Yep.
apps, even like grocery subscriptions now.
Yeah. And it's interesting how it's crept into every facet of our lives.
It is.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, when did this whole thing start?
Oh, well, subscriptions, they've actually been around
Oh, really?
for centuries.
Yeah.
Like way back in the 15th century, you had printing presses
Wow.
offering newspaper subscriptions.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And the appeal back then was pretty much the same as it is now, convenience and affordability.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Makes sense.
For the printer, it guaranteed a steady stream of income.
Yeah.
And for the reader, they got their news delivered right to the doorstep without breaking the bank.
That's smart.
But it really took off, in the 2000s with the whole digital boom.
Oh, yeah.
Like Netflix, Spotify, all those services offering a vast library of content. For a small monthly fee, it was a game changer.
It really was.
It was.
Like, remember those early days of Netflix?
Oh, I do.
It was revolutionary. You could watch whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was all about access.
Exactly. And that's where things started to take a turn, right? Because it's not just about accessing content anymore now. It's like companies are using software to control how we interact with actual physical things that we've bought.
Yeah, like you own the product, but do you really?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I guess that brings us to this blurring line between like owning something and just having access to it.
Exactly. And that's where things get a little bit murky and potentially concerning.
Okay, so give me an example of what you mean.
Okay, so let's take HP's Instant Ink program, for example.
Okay, I've heard of that.
On the surface, it sounds super convenient.
Right.
Your printer tells HP when you're low on ink, and they just ship you new cartridges automatically.
Sounds great.
Right. But here's the catch. You have to subscribe to actually use those cartridges.
Wait, even the ones I buy?
Even the ones you've physically purchased, yeah.
So I'm paying for the ink and then I'm paying again to use it.
That's the tricky part.
I don't really own it. Then do I?
You own the cartridge, but you don't own the right to use it without the subscription. And if you stop your subscription, guess what?
What?
HP can remotely disable those cartridges.
No way.
Yeah, they make them completely useless.
Wow. So I just have like a brick of plastic and metal.
Pretty much. And this practice is called software tethering.
Software tethering.
And it's becoming more and more common.
That is so sneaky.
It is.
Okay, so let's say I decide, you know what? I'm not printing that much anymore. I'm going to cancel my subscription.
Right.
They can just brick those cartridges that I already paid for.
Pretty much, yeah.
How is that even legal?
It's a gray area for sure.
It feels very wrong.
It does. And it's raising a lot of legal questions.
Yeah, I bet.
Companies are arguing that they're not actually selling the physical product itself,
Okay.
but rather access to its functionality.
Through their software.
Exactly, through their software. And this argument, it's not just HP that's using it.
Really?
We're seeing car companies like BMW and Tesla doing similar things.
So like with the self-driving features and stuff.
Yes. Yes, exactly. They're putting features like heated seats, advanced driver assistance systems behind subscription paywalls.
Even though the hardware is already there in the car.
Precisely. It's all built in, but you got to pay extra to unlock it.
So it's like I'm paying for the whole car.
Yeah.
But then I'm paying again to use parts of it that are already there.
That's the idea. And it's a way for companies to maximize their profits.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And keep customers dependent on their ecosystem.
Dependent, that's a good word for it.
It is. And it's a trend that's raising concerns for a lot of people.
So what happens if a company just decides, you know what? We're not supporting this product anymore.
Right.
Do I just lose something I paid for?
That's a real risk, unfortunately.
It doesn't seem right.
It doesn't, and we've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Remember Google Nest?
Oh, yeah.
They shut down their Revolve smart home hub.
Right.
Customers were left with these expensive but completely unusable devices.
Wow, so they paid all this money for something that just turned into a brick.
Essentially, yes.
Mm.
And it raises a lot of questions about ownership and the longevity of the products we buy.
It's like we're not really buying things anymore.
It's shifting towards a model of access rather than ownership.
Right, we're basically just renting everything.
In a way, yes. And it's a trend that's worth paying attention to.
Yeah, this whole thing about ownership and renting, it's like, where does the law even stand on this?
It's complicated. The legal landscape is still catching up.
Yeah.
You have laws like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act or DMCA,
I've heard of that.
which were originally intended to prevent piracy.
Right.
But now companies are using them to justify these software restrictions,
Oh, wow.
making it illegal for consumers to bypass them, even on products they've purchased.
So it's like the law is being used against us.
It's a controversial issue, and it's definitely fueling the debate around ownership and consumer rights.
So wait, are we just stuck then?
It might feel that way, but there is pushback emerging.
Oh,
There is.
more.
Consumer groups and advocacy organizations are voicing their concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And even government agencies are starting to take notice.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah, like the Federal Trade Commission or FTC, they've implemented a click-to-cancel rule,
Oh, I think I read about that.
which forces companies to make unsubscribing as easy as subscribing.
Okay, so that's a step in the right direction.
It is,
Right.
but it's just one small step.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of work to be done.
So what about the companies themselves? Are
Yeah.
any of them listening to all this and like changing their ways?
Some are actually.
Really?
Yeah, like HP, because of all the negative feedback, they've actually started phasing out their Instant Ink program.
Oh, wow. So people actually have power.
We do. And even some car manufacturers like BMW, they're rethinking those subscription-locked features.
Because of the backlash.
Exactly. Consumers are speaking up,
Mm-hmm.
and companies are starting to listen.
Okay, so maybe there's hope.
There's always hope.
Yeah, it's clear that this whole shift from subscribing to services to subscribing to like actually owner stuff, it's happening.
It's happening.
But it sounds like there's some resistance building.
There is. And it's important to stay informed and engaged.
Yeah,
As consumers, we have a voice,
we do.
and we need to use it.
All right, so we're going to delve deeper into some real-world examples of this whole subscription craziness
Oh, yeah?
in part 2.
Can't wait.
But for now, I think it's important for everyone listening to just take a minute
Mm-hmm.
and think about your own relationship with subscriptions.
That's a good idea.
Like, what are you actually paying for?
Right.
What are you getting in return?
Good question.
And is it really worth it?
Yeah, we need to be more conscious consumers.
We do.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back after a short break.
You know, when we talk about this whole subscription thing getting out of hand,
Yeah.
the car industry is a really good example.
Yeah.
Like heated seats.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Like you already paid for the car.
I know.
The seats are right there.
No.
But they're like, hey, you want to use those? That'll be $10 a month, please.
It's ridiculous.
It is. And people are not happy about it.
No, they're not.
Like, imagine you buy this brand new luxury car.
Yeah.
And then you find out you got to pay extra
Yeah.
just to use the heated seats.
Or the radio even.
Yeah, it's like, what?
It's like buying a phone with a bunch of demo apps.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right.
That you have to pay to unlock.
Yeah. You know,
Like, what happened to just owning a car?
I know.
It feels like we're moving towards this model
Yeah.
where you buy a car,
Uh-huh.
but you don't really own all of it
Unless you keep paying.
unless you keep paying.
Right.
It's like a subscription to your own car.
It's crazy.
And it's not just about cars.
No.
It's a bigger question
Yeah.
about access and affordability.
Right. And like, who really has the power here?
Exactly.
It's not just those heated seats. It's
The whole
Asik
system.
Ma.
It's about how we think about the stuff we buy
Yeah. The stuff we use every day.
and what it even means to own something anymore. So for anyone out there thinking about buying something
Yeah.
that comes with a subscription,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be careful.
Yeah. What should people be looking out for?
First of all, you got to understand what you're actually paying for.
Okay.
Is it a service that adds value, like
Right.
streaming content,
Right.
storage,
Okay.
or are they just making you pay
Yeah.
to unlock stuff that's already in the product?
That's already there.
Yeah, so read that fine print.
Definitely read the fine print.
Yeah, because it might say,
Yeah.
if you cancel, you lose access.
So like half the features?
Yeah, or even the whole thing.
Really?
And there might be hidden fees,
Oh, crap.
penalties for canceling early.
It's like a trap.
So you got to be a smart shopper.
Yeah. We got to be way more careful
Yeah, more conscious these days
than we used to be.
with all these subscriptions.
It's like we can't assume we're getting what we pay for anymore.
That's right. And think about the long term, too.
Okay.
Like, are you okay with paying every month?
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah.
What happens if the company goes belly up
Oh, yeah.
or changes the rules?
Then what?
So, yeah, it's like we're signing contracts for everything.
Mini contract.
Mini contracts, exactly.
Like everywhere you turn.
And they're not always fair.
I'm kind of freaking out a little bit.
I know it's a lot to take in.
It is.
But, it's not all bad news.
Okay, there's some good news.
There is.
Okay, tell me.
There are companies out there doing things differently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're pushing back against this whole trend.
Good.
They're like, hey, we believe in ownership.
Okay.
We believe in transparency.
Oh, right.
So in the next part,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about those companies.
Let's do it.
We'll look at some alternatives
Okay.
that might surprise you.
I'm ready for some good news. So we've talked about a lot of the downsides of these subscriptions and how they're kind of taking over.
Yeah.
But are there any companies out there doing things differently?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, are there any, good guys in this story?
Yeah, there are companies that are pushing back
Oh, good.
against this trend.
That's
And they're
nice.
like, we believe in ownership. We believe in transparency.
Okay. That's refreshing.
It is. And they're offering some really interesting alternatives.
Okay, so give me some examples. Like, who's doing this right?
Well, one example is the open source software movement.
Open source. Okay.
Yeah, these are companies and developers who create software that's freely available.
So anybody can use it?
Anybody can use it, modify it, distribute. It's all about collaboration.
Wow, that's like the opposite of everything we've been talking about.
It is. It's a completely different approach.
So how do these companies make money?
That's a good question, right?
Yeah, if their software is free.
It's free, so they often rely on alternative revenue models like
Right.
donations
Okay.
or paid support services.
So people who really like it can support them.
Exactly. And it's a model that's proving to be quite successful.
That's really cool.
It is.
So it's not all about locking everything down?
No, not at all.
What about physical product?
Yeah, there are some bright spots there, too.
Like
Fairphone. Have you heard of them?
I don't think so.
They make smartphones that are designed for repairability and longevity.
Oh, wow. So you can actually fix them.
You can fix them yourself. You can keep them for a long time.
That's amazing.
They're fighting against that whole planned obsolescence thing.
Right, where they make it so you have to buy a new one every year.
Exactly. They're like, no, we want you to keep this phone.
Wow, I like that.
It's a good philosophy.
So are there any signs that, things are changing on a bigger scale?
Yeah, there are, actually.
Like with laws and stuff?
Yeah, policymakers are starting to pay attention.
Okay.
Consumer advocacy groups are pushing for stronger regulations
To protect us.
to protect consumers from these unfair subscription practices.
Right, like that click to cancel thing we talked about.
Exactly. And there's this whole right to repair movement.
Right to repair. What's that?
It's about giving people the right to fix their own stuff.
Like their own phone or whatever.
Yeah, instead of having to go through the manufacturer.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's gaining a lot of traction.
So there's hope
There's definitely hope.
that we can take back some control.
Yeah, it's all about being aware and informed as consumers.
So what's the main takeaway for our listeners today?
I'd say the main takeaway is to really think about your subscriptions.
Yeah.
Like, what are you paying for? Is it really worth it?
And are there better options?
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions and look for alternatives.
They have more power than we think.
We do. We just need to use it.
Well said. All right, that's it for our deep dive into the world of subscriptions.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us. It's been quite a journey.
it has.
And remember, stay curious, stay informed, and don't be afraid to question the status quo.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time on the Deep Dive.